go ahead and get started. Is everybody ready?
Showtime.
All right. Well, like we usually do for all of our networking events as well as our education workshops, the attendees we do have, we will allow them to introduce themselves. So say who you are, which organization you're a part of, and what made you want to attend today's workshop. So I will start with the two people we have in person. And you're up.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Renee Martinez. I work for the city of Pueblo, and part of my role is in economic development. The reason that this piqued my interest is because I worked as a partnership specialist for the 2020 census, and I'm fearful of Project 2025 and plans to maybe abolish the 2030 census and its critical information, and I'm here to support any effort to retain the next census.
And Kimberly, you can hear us okay in the office, right?
Yeah, I can. Thank you for asking, Noah.
All right, George, you're up.
Kimberly, my name is George Ottleby. I have my own research company called World Demographic Research. My master's degree back in the 70s was based on doing socioeconomic study of Pueblo using census tract data. And since then, my company has been providing data, census data, to the Hispanic Chambers of Commerce nationwide. I served on the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce's board of directors. And one of the reasons I got on the board is I had communicated to them that I was going to be able to provide them Census data on Hispanic business growth, volumes of sales of Hispanic business, payroll made by Hispanic business, number of employees hired by Hispanic business. So that opened up the door for me nationwide and for my company to share with these Hispanic chambers throughout the nation this vital data that we use. And in fact, in addition to the data showing that it's not our data, it's the census data, we include a legislative agenda that includes issues that would help support small business. So not only does the report have the data, it also includes recommendations for helping Hispanic small businesses in their endeavor to grow. And so your data and being a part of this right now is vital because we're looking at developing a project here in Pueblo with Latino Chamber to show the Latino buying power, Latino growth in business, payroll made, the number of employees working, the volumes of sales. So that way we can turn that report into something that the board of directors can use, the membership can use. We give it to the media, we give it to our legislators, our city council, so that they can see the impact of these reports that are what our community is doing in a positive way. So I'm very grateful for you helping us to get the latest information on how to access this data, because it'll be vital to what we're trying to do in our study. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have one more Zoom. Keely, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, actually I'm not Keely, I'm Christine. My computer, I'm actually on Keely's computer. So I replaced, I'm actually the new Keely. So my name's Christine Casillas, and I'm the new Resource Development Coordinator with the Pueblo Child Advocacy Center. And I'm joining this because I think it's really interesting, and it'll kind of help me learn what's happening within our community so that I can apply it to my position here as the Resource Development Coordinator with PCAC.
All right. Well, welcome and congratulations on the new role.
Thank you.
Can you see the slide? Okay.
Yes.
All right, Kimberly, take it away. The floor is all yours.
All right. Thanks, Noah. And Noah, are you going to be in the room, or are you just checking in?
Yeah, I'll be back and forth.
Okay, great. Fantastic. I just wasn't sure. So fantastic. Since you're not going to be in the room, those that are in the room, if we have any technical issues, if you could just run out and grab Noah if anything happens, that I would greatly appreciate that. And then Noah doesn't need to wait in the room. So today we're going to talk, this is session 2, and we're going to talk about Hispanic economic impact. So we're going to get more into the economic data. My name is Kimberly Davis, and I'm a data dissemination specialist at the Census Bureau. My role at the Census Bureau, for those that don't know, is to help people access data that's available at the Census Bureau. So we have, I want to kind of overview what we did in session 1. We went over what we do at the Census Bureau, but today we're going to go kind of over some of session 1 for those that weren't there. We're going to do an economic impact assessment, and then we're going to go over the data programs and resources that we have available. We'll take a 15-minute break, and then we'll come back and we're going to go into some case studies and do some live interacting on 2 tools. We're going to go into Census Business Builder, and then we're also going to look at the local employment household dynamics product line. It's a whole suite of data tools that we're going to dig into. So thanks everyone for joining us. I really appreciate this, and I love working with you guys because as George has mentioned, I love what you guys do with the data, and I love the resources and to hear the outcome of what you do with it. I don't always get to hear that. So I really appreciate you sharing with me what you do with the data. That's great to know. Okay, so in session 1, we took time to go over who we are and what we do, and that we do more than collect the census. We have about 130 programs where we're collecting data all the time. So we don't just close up shop after the decennial census. We actually are busy the other 9 years collecting data on behalf of the Census Bureau, as well as other federal agencies such as HUD and Bureau of Labor Statistics that sponsor a number of surveys that we do the collection for them on behalf of their programs. We discussed the topics and subtopics that we have available. We talked about why geography matters and the value and importance of it. And then we went into some of the data products that we have available. We really just touched on a high, broad level of what's available. We took a break, and then we dug into 3 of the data tools, again, on a really high level. Our primary data tool, we looked at data.census.gov. Oh, great. And then we also looked at Census Business Builder, just kind of through some slides, but today we'll dig into it and look at the reports that can come out of it. And we're going to dig into what we call LEHD. Of course, we acronym everything, the longitudinal employment household dynamics. When we talked about it previously, we really just talked about what it is and where the data comes from. It doesn't come from surveys. As we talked about before, the data comes from the counties. It's county business patterns. It comes from local governments reporting on their data that goes through the systems by Social Security, and we are implementing and adding new data for those individuals that don't report through Social Security. So if they're individuals that work for themselves or are contract and it doesn't go through a organization. So we will be adding a lot more data to get a more comprehensive picture on the local employment household dynamics in the future. But right now, the advantage to using that data is that it is current, and it does give quarterly data in a lot of the programs. Okay, and we also went through some clarification, and I want to reiterate some of the clarification and definitions because it's been a little bit since we did this. When we talk about demographic data, we're talking about data that was collected from a household. And when we talk about economic data, we're talking about data that was collected from a business. When we discuss race, we are talking about the definition of the population from OMB, the Office of Management Budget's guideline, which is the White House, and how they define race. Race is based on self-identification and how people choose to identify. The racial categories included in the census questionnaire generally reflect a social definition of race recognized in the country and not an attempt to define race biologically, anthropologically, or genetically. In addition, the categories of race include racial and national origin or social culture groups. So OMB at this time defines or requires that we have a minimum of 5 categories: white, Black or African American, American Indian or Alaska Native, which is often acronymed AIAN, Asian or Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander. So those are the 5 primary categories. We will, in the future, have 6 primary categories. Congress has passed that we will add AMINA, which is the African, population for the, oh gosh, it escapes my mind now. But it'll be the Black population that is North African. And then when we talk about ethnicity, you can be from any race, and it is the only ethnicity we collect, which is Hispanic or Latino. So you can define yourself as any race or multiple races and be Hispanic or Latino ethnicity. So when we publish data, we have the race categories, and then we have an additional category in combination for those that define themselves as multiple race. And we always add then the ethnicity, the Hispanic or Latino, on top of the race. If that changes at the White House, if they change the definitions, we will follow suit. We won't backdate data or change it. We only will move forward with new definitions. The next number 5 definition is NAICS. We, like our acronyms, and that is the North American Industry Classification System. It is the standard used by the federal statistical agencies in classifying business establishments for the purpose of collecting statistics. It's how we categorize businesses. So NAICS are broken down into 6 categories for the types of businesses and the types of categories. And so when we get a little more into business data, you'll see that when we're in particular in the LEHD program, and how that breaks down and classifies the data. And then when we talk about a business is an activity or an enterprise entered into for profit. So that's an individual business. An establishment is where business is conducted, or goods are made or stored or produced. So, for example, McDonald's is one business, but they have multiple establishments. So they have multiple locations across the United States. So that's the difference when we reference a business versus an establishment. Okay, so are there any questions about definitions? All right. So we're going to talk about what is economic impact. And I'm going to be honest, I had to look this up, but I would love to hear what do you define as economic impact? How do you define that, or what do you look at when you look at economic impact?
Well, you're
Renee,
looking, yeah, Well, you're looking first for the economic impact is like the buying power of a community, what the median income is. And the other one would be the impact that the businesses are having, minority-owned businesses are having on the local economy by identifying their gross receipts, number of employees, volumes of sales. Yeah, those things that you can measure and show that are growing in our community. Is the income growing? Are the businesses growing? Are they increasing in volumes of sales? Those are factors that can be measured and used for the impact, economic impact of the community.
Great. Yes, I agree. Yeah, and Renee, do you have any comments, being that you're in the economic development?
No, I think what George said covered it well. And we have one more
Okay.
participant.
Yeah. Thought something go.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
You
Hi.
didn't stop.
Hi, Kimberly, is that your name?
Yes.
Hi, Kimberly. My name is Mark, and I'm a financial advisor here in Puebla.
Oh, okay. Are you with the city?
No, I'm with Edward Jones Investments.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. It's nice to meet you and welcome. So if you missed it, I'm a data dissemination specialist with the Census Bureau. So my role is to help people understand and access data from the census. Okay, so do you have an opinion about economic impact or how it's defined?
No, I think I agree with the previous statement. I I think economic impact should definitely be, well, within the definition should be something tangible, right? Something that we can measure and we can know that we're moving in the right direction, in regards to growing numbers in all those different kind of facets of the economy that were already mentioned. So yeah, I think that's a good description.
Okay, and Keely online?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have anything to add?
Not at this time, I don't know.
Okay, great. Okay, so when I looked this up, I got a lot of feedback. I got, I Googled it and these are some of the things that came back. And I thought, wow, we don't really have a clear definition. But one of the things I really liked was here in the green. And this came from Google AI. And so one of the things that really resonated with me is that employment, which is, obviously the number of jobs created, and household earnings, as George indicated, like what's the buying power of the consumers, and then the economic output, the total value of the goods and the services by the businesses, and then the value that is produced, and then the value added to the economy. So these elements really resonated with me because they all tie together about the consumers and the businesses that are out there. So what data is available on economic impact? And so for the Census Bureau, we have data on employment, and we have data on household earnings, and we have data on economic output, and we have very minimal on spending habits, that value added. But and I'll share with you where we have that when we go in as Census Business Builder. But really, Bureau of Labor Statistics produces great data on spending habits. So I'll share some of that with you and what they have. So what I wanted to share with you, because we have so many resources of data that we collect, what we collect on employment. So unemployment, the number of jobs created or lost, the Census Bureau collects data that measures the state of the nation's workforce, including employment and unemployment levels, as well as weeks and hours worked. And the topics that we have about employment are commuting. How do people get to work? And then what is the time that it takes them to get to work? We have information on employers, if they're private sector or public sector. We have information on equal opportunity, or the equal employment opportunity tabulation, the EEO, to for organizations to ensure that they are in compliance with EEO. Is so we do produce that data that allows people to check that. We have information on industry and on occupation, and then we have the labor force statistics, which is starts and job ending, and which sometimes is referred as new hires, and job ends, or sometimes job births when it's a new business. And then we also have information about on the work at home, since that's a growing statistics. More and more people are working from home. The data is collected from the resources here on the left. And so that's quite a lot of data. We collect it from the American Community Survey, the annual survey of public employment and payroll, the Census of Governments, Census of Economic Studies, Current Population Survey, the Longitudinal Employer Household Dynamics Survey of Business Owner and Self-Employed Persons, Survey of Income and Program Participation. And they all have their own reason for data and the data that they collect. And some of them collect the same type of data, but they don't always ask the same question in the same way. And for example, the ACS asks about employment. It asks, are you employed? And are you 16 years or older? And are you full-time, part-time? But the current population survey, which we conduct in collaboration with the Bureau of Labor Statistics, asks if you're 14 years and older. So it's a whole different baseline, even though it's the same question, and it produces a whole different data set because the universe baseline is different. So it doesn't mean that one data set is incorrect over another. It just changes the universe because of why we collect the different data sets and the needs for them. So just be cognizant of it, that you'll see multiple data sets come out of different tools, and it doesn't mean one is wrong or right. It's because it comes from different sources. Okay, and so here is a little bit of data on employment from the longitudinal employer household dynamics. And this is showing us, and I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can move this up. There we go. This is showing the distance and direction for commuters for the workers employed in Pueblo. So this is people employed in Pueblo, so they're going to Pueblo, and where are they coming from? And you can see a lot of them are coming from the west and the north, and most of them travel, in the chart below, you can see they travel less than 10 miles. You have the majority of them are less than 10 miles. So we have a count of 24,000 that travel less than 10 miles. And the chart above it shows in the dark green, the number. So the number of people by direction that they're coming. So from the primary area of Pueblo, it's more intense in the center because fewer are traveling that direction. But then when we go to 10 to 24 and 25 to 50, we have 9 to 13%. So we're getting out in that radius. Again, they're coming primarily from the west, and then we see a little more from the southwest. But when we go greater than 50 miles, we have a significant number coming from the north. So people are coming then from probably past Colorado Springs to come into Pueblo to work, which is really interesting to me that they're coming so far from the north into Pueblo to work from the north. And it's, as you're aware, that I-25 corridor where there's so much growth along the Front Range development. But we have this interesting gap where there's, they're going more than 50 miles, and it's the second largest number of commuters. We go from 57% to 20% go more than 50 miles. That's interesting, and I know you're working on transportation planning in Pueblo, which would really benefit those commuters coming that far. And then now we're looking at, this is the opposite way. These are people that live in Pueblo. These are the residents of Pueblo and the direction that they're going. And we're seeing the same thing. We're seeing people going north out of Pueblo. And so about the same numbers. We have 52.3% are less than 10 miles away. And then greater than 50 miles, we have 24%, most of which are going north, and interestingly enough, going east. We have very few going west and south as we did before. So I thought that was interesting to see the comparison of who's coming into Pueblo to work and who's going out of Pueblo to work. All right, so now let's talk about earning. Earning, the amount of money earned by households and individuals. Income is the gauge money used to determine the well-being of the US population. The surveys and census questions cover poverty, income, and wealth. We collect income from the current population survey, the American Community Survey, and the Survey of Income and Program Participation. So earnings don't always include just workers. It includes other income that is earned into a household, whether it's from program participations, Social Security, things like that. So it can come from a variety of resources. The topics that we have data on income are what we consider income, the general topic, income inequality, where one population group may make more than the other. We often see this with males and females. We have poverty. There's a national threshold for poverty that's established by the number of persons within a household. And unfortunately, it's national. So no matter the cost of living anywhere, that's the same. And so we publish that data, and it changes every year. We have data on those that participate in program and public assistance programs. We publish data for small area income and poverty estimates. That's available usually down to county and school district level, which helps with school lunch programs. And now we see that evolve into generally school food programs where we're providing meals for children, even breakfasts and afternoon snacks. And during COVID, it was meals for the day. And then we have supplemental poverty measures, wealth and assessment ownerships, which includes more than the monetary money. It includes the full assessment of ownership. And then we have the well-being measure as well. So some measures on income, and this is the real median household income by race and Hispanic origin. This is national from 1967 to 2003. And so I thought this was an interesting study. This is the current population survey, and it's usually a national or regional, sometimes state level publication. But I thought this was interesting because it's by race. And you can see here that the Asian population was the highest and always has been. And then you have here the white non-Hispanic. And then all races combined, and then here Hispanic and Black. So, and this break in it is where there's a change in how we gather data in that survey.
Is the all races
And then
the all races, is it,
I'm
is that
just,
average?
yeah, that's combining, correct. That's all of them, yeah. And then this is looking at the counties. And I tried to highlight Pueblo County here, but this is looking, and I apologize, it's not all counties, but I pulled counties. I believe there were 11 in here. So here's the United States. This is median household income from 1997 to 2022. Here's the United States. And here's Colorado. So Colorado in 1997 was 40,853, and in 2022 was 89,096. And then we can go through and see, here's Adams County, pretty in line with Colorado. But we look here at Douglas County, which is way over Colorado in both areas, both factors. They just are blowing the United States and Colorado out of the water. And then we go here to Pueblo, and it's significantly below not only the state, but then the highest at Douglas County. So in 1997, Pueblo was at 29,112, and in 2022 at 58,314. So I just thought that was an interesting number to look at, that it was low, and although increasing, it still remains at that low trend, trugging along there. So hopefully with some economic development and trends, and some transportation plans going into place, that will increase that and improve that. But on the upside, it is incredibly affordable. So on the next subject of economic output, on the other slides, I've shown all of the surveys that we collect data on, and we have so many on businesses and the economy, income, that it took one slide. So here's what we have. We have 80, and then we have 3 that we no longer collect on that are historic, but we have 80 programs that we have collected, that we've done study on the economy. And so there are so many that I just wanted to show you. We have a lot happening, and we're always looking at the economy. But for this slide, I wanted to show you, not all of them on the previous slide are available at low level. Most of that data is at national level. Very seldom does that data come down to the comprehensible geographic levels of our communities. And so on this slide, I wanted to point out the surveys that are actually have data available, for community level, for those lower levels. So Economic output is the total value of goods and services produced. And so the Census Bureau produces economic data across the entire economy on monthly, quarterly, yearly, and a 5-year basis. So for data at geographic levels of a metro area, a city or a town, a county, a zip code, or a ZITCA. And if you recall, a ZITCA is similar to a zip code, but it may not follow that exact boundary of that postal carrier route. We have the American Community Survey, which will be the lowest level of geography we produce, the annual business surveys. Building permits are collected at the county level, so we always produce that at the business or the county level. And then the local employer household dynamics tools produces data at county, at place, and at workforce investment areas. And then, of course, states and nation. The topics that we have on economic output are, we have business counts, we have the business and ownership characteristics, we have business and workforce dynamics, we have data privacy on businesses and the economy. We have the economic census, which is the big one that sets the baseline for all the other surveys that we do every 5 years. We publish actually the economic indicators, those numbers that come out from the Department of Commerce the first Friday of the month, and they start out with the new construction housing builds. We actually collect that data and publish those within 3 seconds of them being collected and ready. Like they go out immediately. And then we have expenses and expenditures of businesses, inventories, manufacturing, measuring technology and the economy on tech start companies, and the stats for those. We have sales receipts, shipments, and productions. And then we kind of are the gatekeepers again of the North American industry classification systems. We make the decisions about, do we need new ones? Do some need to drop off? And then we also have the North American product classification system and small businesses and supply chain. So we have so many topics and different ways to look at business and the economy. And so in the economic output, I pulled a little bit of data from Census Business Builder that we'll dig in today. And so from this, I looked at employer businesses. And what I wanted to look at in particular are the number of establishments by the number of employees. And so we can see here that the highest number of employees, that is with less than 5 employees, with an estimate of 1,626. So I thought that was interesting as well, that it's really kind of those smaller ones that are the greatest and have a lot of power. Okay, and then on this slide, whoops, let me scoot this over so I see my notes here. In 2023, we are looking at the establishments grew to, okay, yes, 3,979, and employment in the first month of the first quarter was at 51,345. So, that's stayed very similar to where it was. So, which is good because, you're not losing, but you can see in comparison when you bring this chart up, it always compares the geography with with the next highest level, Colorado and the United States. So, and it does bring that quarterly. Okay, and as I mentioned before, value added is really kind of the spending habit data. And the Bureau of Economic Analysis measures the personal consumption expenditure. And they publish that annually, quarterly, and monthly. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics provides consumer expenditures and the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. But we have a little bit of data in our Census Business Builder that draws some data in from Esri, and we'll look at that in Census Business Builder today. But I would definitely take a look at Esri and Stats America because they have some great products where they draw data from. If you haven't ever used Esri, Esri is it's a GIS app. And they draw data in, it's very powerful, and they draw data from a lot of resources. And so it's not a government entity, but they do everything based on GIS programs. So you can find a lot of data in there. They do draw in government data as well as private entity data. But officially for the government, I would reference BEA and BLS for spending. So we'll take a little bit of a break here now for about 15 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll dig into the data products and tools. Does that work for everybody? All right. I'll see you back then at 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock. So we're going to go ahead and get started on the second part of our session today. So we're going to go ahead and get into data products and tools. And I do want to let you know, sometimes we use tools and products interchangeably. However, technically, products are the data that we produce and the statistics that are released, and tools are the platforms that we put the tools out or the data out in, the actual extraction products. So we'll dig into what we're going to go into today for the data products and tools. Okay, so business data access tools. We have two that we're going to dig in today. We're going to dig into Census Business Builder, which offers the original concept of Census Business Builder was for small businesses to have the opportunity to look at both demographic and economic data in a single source product. And they could go into it geographically or by their industry type and do comparisons or do a study to see could they start a business or should they grow their business? And it's kind of really exploded into an economic study area. So we'll go into using that. And then the local employer household dynamics product suite has a lot of data product tools, and you can see the list here. And I'm going to try to get through as many of them as possible. But really what I want to focus on are the tools that can help you in the Pueblo community. Some of these tools are only available at higher level. And so I don't want to dwell too much on them. It's not that they don't have value, but if you can't use them at your community level, they might not add as much value to what you're doing today. So some others that we have available that I've listed here, please feel free to explore on your own or reach out to me if you would like help understanding them or looking at them. But we're really going to just focus on these two today. Okay, so the Census Business Builder is really meant to be a simple search. It starts on a landing page with a map, and then you can type in and it gives you demographic, socioeconomic, and housing information. And then the LEHD is just that. It's dynamic from the perspective of a lot of variables, and you can search from the perspective of where are employers and where are workers. And so we're going to go live in both of those tools right now. So if you hold just one moment, let me get my census webpage up here, and let me know if you can see that. Can you see the Census Bureau homepage?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, George. Okay, so from the Census Bureau homepage, and I hope it operates faster than it looks like it is. Holy cow. Let me open another tab and see if we can get this a little faster. There we go. Okay. We're going to dig into Census Business Builder, and like all of the tools, you can type them in a Google search, which I might do that now because that seems like it's running a little bit slow. And we're just going to go directly to Census Business Builder. But from the Census Bureau website, under the data maps and tools, Census Business Builder is listed in the list of data tools and apps right here. But since we've got it pulled up here, I'm just gonna go that route, or hopefully it pulls up. Holy cow. So we're going to do a simple search on this, and this tool is designed to be a pretty easy search. You can search Business Builder. You can search just on the dynamic map. You don't have to run a report, but when you do run a report, it does give you the full details about all the dynamics within any of the searching that you do. And my browser seems to be so incredibly slow. Let me see if I can close some other things and see if that helps. Okay, well, one thing is up here. Let's see if Business Builder. I should have pulled this up while we were on break. I apologize. Maybe while that's pulling up, I'll pull up the LEHD while we're waiting, then we don't wait on that as well. Okay, let's here. Maybe I will just go this route for now and see if I can get LEHD open. Okay. And when you go to this, you get that alphabetical list that we looked at before, back, I think, in July. So it's alphabetical, and so we'll go to page 2 of this, and we'll go to the local employment dynamics. See if that, okay, here's Business Builder. So when you open up Business Builder, you can type a location in here, or it gives you the option to take a tour. And when you take a tour, it walks you through kind of step by step of what we're going to go through today. So we're going to type in Pueblo County and hit search. And as soon as it's loading, it does take a little bit to load simply because it draws so much data. Census Business Builder has data that we produce, and it also has data that the Census Bureau has purchased from Esri. And we purchase data based on user feedback, based on what users have requested. And so it's the most requested data that people have asked for. And I think I've mentioned this before, the most requested data has been about breweries and restaurants and who serves serving alcohol. So that is in one of the filters. But what happens here when you land on the page is it gives you information about Pueblo County. It tells you here in the upper left-hand corner what you're searching for, and it tells you what type of geography you're searching for. So you could search by state or metro or county, city, zip, or tract. I do want to caution when you go to a very low level geography, you're going to get less data because we do have to ensure that we protect the privacy of persons and businesses. So if you get very low and there aren't a lot of businesses or persons, you're not going to have a lot of data. So start at a higher level when you use this data product, and you'll have a little more success. So it opens up giving us some high level information about Pueblo County and the number of establishments in Pueblo County with 3,979. And then it compares the number of establishments to other counties. It gives us the median household income, the percent of high school degree or higher, the all employer establishments, those that have employers, as opposed to people that don't, that are considered non-employer establishments, meaning I work for myself and I don't employ anybody. And then the home ownership rate. And then it breaks down the establishment levels over here for the items on the map in the background. So you can see what's going on there. But what you can do in Census Business Builder is you can customize different things on here. So you can customize your industry. If you want to look at a specific sector, you can type an industry in here, such as a restaurant. A rest, if I can spell restaurant, and then it brings up a variety of types of restaurants here. So if I want to focus on restaurants and other eating establishments, if I want to work on maybe I'm in construction of restaurants, anything that's related to the word restaurant, I can see what that is. I can see if I maybe want to start furnishing restaurants or providing furniture or food truck manufacturing. So below each of those, it gives that NAICS code that I spoke about, that, and it breaks it down in that 4-digit NAICS code. And what you'll notice with that is that each of them, oh, excuse me, each of them start with the same 2-digit code, that 7-2. And so starting with that 7-2, that identifies that code of restaurant. And then 2-5, that second digit, goes more granularly into that is an eating establishment, where here you can see that 2-3 is related to construction, 6-2 and 2-0 is specific to the type of restaurant construction that. So those NAICS codes are indicating what industry you're actually going to be searching for when you search for a specific industry. You can also do a secondary variable in the establishments. And what you can do in here is you can really change all of your variables. You can change your geography, but you can also change if you want to look at the consumers of the area. So you can change if you want to look at the total population, or if you want to focus in on a specific population. I know when I go every holiday season for tea, I go with my daughter and my daughter-in-law. It's a treat that we do, but I also know that the males in our family have no interest in that. So that would be something that I would want to focus on if I was starting a tea room. Maybe what's the percentage of females? If I was starting maybe a daycare, I'd want to know the percentage under 5. So you can get into some specific age groups as well if you're looking at consumers and residents. If you're looking at opening an establishment with alcohol, you may want to know who's 21 and over. So you can break down some of those categories. You can also look at the type of business with the annual payroll. If I want to compare, what do I estimate that I may need to pay my employees if I'm considering opening a business? What do other like businesses pay out to their employees? You can look at the businesses and the establishments by um, their employment for the first month and second month. You can look at their first month of hires, separations, the job gains, job losses, and changes. If they've had changes in their firm, maybe people have shifted from doing one type of task to another. And then here are building permits. So building permits are issued for the types of buildings by the county. And if it's a 1-unit building permit or a 2-unit building permit, and so on. And then here is where we have that small amount of consumer spending, okay? So this is data that we have purchased either from Esri or collected another product, another survey. And this is, how did people spend money on apparel or dining out? Did they eat out, or um, education, entertainment, households on consumed at home, and healthcare, household services, housing, and life or other insurance,
Kimberly,
pensions, social security, personal care products and services, local transportation, travel, childcare, daycare and nursery, babysitting, childcare, and in-home or other healthcare. So we do have very high level expenses, but we're not going to be able to get into real granular, spending. But this is where you can see where some money spent is, and that's in
question,
the second variable under consumer spending. If you want to take notes. Yeah, did you have a question, George?
yeah, these are everything we're asking for to obtain, but we need it by.
Okay, great.
Is there's, all this stuff is available to find out how many Hispanics that are doing construction, that are traveling, that, is there a method of us to pull that data out?
Yeah, to do it by Hispanics, there isn't, we don't have it by Hispanics. It's the whole population for the area.
Okay.
I would check with BEA and BLS because they may break it down by population group. Okay. Yeah, I don't have a way to, let me see if I can do it. Let me see if I add a filter. let's see if I can do Hispanic. Yeah, but I don't know if this will give me the percent of Hispanic, but let me see if adding, because I don't know if that's going to cross tabulate this consumer. Let's look on the report and see if it does, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, when we run the report, let's see if it shows up that way, okay? So this is showing us this high level report, and then this gives us kind of this map in the background. But when you run the report on Census Business Builder, so you go down here to this lower right-hand corner and you create report. And what it does is it generates a report on all the variables that are available. So runs everything in that report. And let me see if it'll give us specifically for the Hispanic population, or if it's just going to be the total population. I'm afraid it might be the total population, simply because we might get into that we can't compromise identity, or we may simply not have, it may not be collected by a population group based on the resources that it comes from.
Yeah, but you all still put out census data on veterans and minority, Black, women, Asian, Native American businesses, reports, the number that happened in the last
Yeah.
census.
Yep.
But that's a different one.
Yeah,
That's a different
and they're from the economic census, which we've just begun publishing. The economic census, we just actually got an announcement yesterday about the publications coming out for it. So they'll start at the national level for the economic census, and then over the next 5 years, they'll start publishing at lower levels. So they'll do the national, then they'll go into state. And one of the great things about being in Colorado is we're one of the first states to publish. And the reason we're one of the first states is that all of our place level and all of our metros are within the state. We don't have a situation like Kansas City where they have to break it down. So we get to be one of the first states when they publish economic data. And it comes out every 5 years. So we'll be one of the first when they get down to that level. So here's what we'll find in our report. We'll find the total of the consumer residents for Pueblo County, which was, I was a little afraid of that it won't break down that Hispanic. It just gives us the percentage of Hispanic in Pueblo, but it doesn't show that what the Hispanic population is spending. But I do think BEA or BLS produces it. I hope they do. But here's what you get. You get those numbers that we looked at, that in employment characteristics and what people work in. And then you get the employer businesses that we saw on the slides, where what by employment size and revenue. And then we get that workforce by age, which is also really important to know what that workforce is, because we're seeing across America an older workforce. People are working later in life, and we're seeing a significant loss in the blue collar industry. We really need that blue collar industry to grow in the younger generations. And then here we see the quarterly businesses. So the employment for the first month and the changes from 20 to 23 based on, my gosh, I'm so sorry about that connectivity. And then we see that change that it was, we've had it decrease from 2022 to 2023 by just a 0.5% in Pueblo County. So it gives quite a lot of data in this report of the Census Business Builder. You can see, what the weekly wages are. You can see the total percentage of wages. So it gives a lot of detail. We also have the building permits, the total number of businesses by industry, and then the firms and employers and income, total revenue. So a lot of data in here, and this chart actually goes into more detail across here, where you can see the startups, the firms by age, and so forth. I'll let you all explore into that. And then the industry sectors, non-employer business ownership, and here's where we see that consumer spending, George, and you can see it's sourced by Esri. So I would go to Esri's website and see if they break it down by race, if Esri does any publications by race, and see if they do. If not, check with BLS or BEA and see if they do. Yeah, because we don't gather it by race from Esri, but they may publish it that way. And you can go here, George, and click on the Esri site and play around with it. Because I'm not an Esri employee, it's not, I'm not familiar with it, but definitely source that and see if they've got it. Okay?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, is there anything else on Census Business Builder that you guys have questions about? It's a great way to get that high profile snapshot. Yeah, and you can poll any of these and look at any of the numbers on them. And each of these charts you can navigate with them. You can export these as well. So feel free to go into any of that on Census Business Builder, or ask me for any questions that you may have about it. The second product line I want to talk about is the longitudinal employer household dynamics. And this is the product line, and it gives you details about where we get the information from. And it comes from the Center for Economic Studies, and we get this from local sourced governments. Okay, so it's county supplied business data. And here are the data product lines. So we have a job to job explorer, which is where people go to and from for jobs. I'm really not going to go into that too much today, but let me know if you want to at another date. It shows where people go to and from for jobs, and if they change jobs. We saw that a lot when the oil booms. If we saw a lot of actually education industry, a lot of teachers leaving the teaching industry to go work in the oil industry, and where they left from to go do this. And then the LEA, the local employment dynamic extraction tool. I won't go into this too much because the QWI has it has the same data in a different format. So we'll go into QWI and we'll go into on the map. On the map for emergency management is just that. We take our on the map data and we work it in with FEMA's disaster data. So when a disaster happens, it goes into the map, and we can see as a disaster is going on in places like hurricanes, or when we have fires and they're growing, it gets updated every 2 hours, and we can see the impact it's going to have on populations and industries. Again, for time's sake, I won't go into the emergency portion of on the map, but just be aware it's available, and we can do that another day if you have an interest in it. And this is post-secondary employment opportunities. This is a tool that actually started here in Colorado with the University of Colorado, and Boulder, where we start to look at what's happening when people get out of college. Where are they going? And so that's an interesting dynamic. It's a startup product. We don't have all the information, but it's at state level at this point. But we are going to look at Quarterly Workforce Investment Explorer, because I think that has a lot of valuable information for Pueblo right now. And this one is the veteran employment opportunity. And it looks at much like the post-secondary employment, it looks at veterans and where are they going after they get out of the service. It also is at the state level. So we won't look at that today, but it is a new tool. Be aware it will grow, and our hope is that it gets down to workforce investment areas and county areas. So today we're going to look at on the map and Quarterly Workforce Investment Explorer. You can start by clicking on any of them here or going to the application here. This tab here has information about the data. And right here are workshops and webinars listed for all the tools. And the training tab has recorded trainings. So if you forget or want to review or learn about any of the tools, that's a great resource. There's videos there. You can watch a video of how the tools function and how they operate. So just be aware, if you can always get to this home page, you can always get to training, and the videos are quick. You don't have to sit there for an hour and a half or 2 hours. They're just short videos about navigating the sites. So we'll start with on the map. And we'll go into looking at the employment dynamics for Pueblo. And on the map, I really like on the map because it gives you a variety of geographies to start with. So I can look at the county, I can look at the metro, I can look at the city. You can look at a few different dynamics. And when this loads here, holy cow, I can hear them. I live near Colorado in Colfax, and they've been redoing the streets up here to prepare for the new bus lines. And so they're always drilling and hammering, and I think it's impacting my internet a little bit. I apologize. So it starts out here with this landing page, and it gives it's not always real intuitive, but it geocodes to the United States here. It just brings up this very generic map. And so it doesn't always indicate where to begin. But if you look over here to this search, over here on the left, there's this open box, and you can type something in here. So I'm just going to type Pueblo. And when I type Pueblo and hit search, it says it's going to search all names that have the word Pueblo in them. Okay. And so when it does that, it brings up this quite extensive list. Anything that has the word Pueblo. So that includes any of the Pueblos in Mexico or in New Mexico. And so it brings up a very, very long list. But I want you to know you can look at something as low as the census block group. And if you know any of the tracks, you can look at a census track. So you can look at a very low geography in this tool. But for today's purpose, we're just gonna look at the city of Pueblo. So I'm gonna make this selection for the city. But you can see it comes up with the county. So be sure to look at that full list because it has quite a lot of information. So if I click on the city here, it scrolls in and brings up the city of Pueblo on the map. And it draws this outline in this yellow and red line here. And then it gives me the option to perform an analysis on the selection area. So I'm gonna go ahead and click perform an analysis. And when I perform an analysis, I have the option, do I want to know about the workers, where they live, or where they're employed? Where do they work? So for this case, I'm going to start with where do they live? The people in Pueblo that reside in Pueblo, the workers that reside in Pueblo, that's who I want to know about right now. And then the next analysis that I can look at is I can look at all the workers, everybody that works there. Let's wait for this thing to go away again. Okay. Um, but I also can look at some age categories. So if I'm concerned about the older working population that's 55 and over, I can look at that. I can look at those that are 29 or younger to see who's the up and coming workforce. I can look at by their income, the goods producing for the workers that are producing goods, or their trades, transportation or utility or other services. I can look by, if I want to look by the areas, I can look by areas. I can also look in this segment, I can also look by their market segment, by those same categories of age or income. I can check by the distance that they go, or the direction that they go. I can check the inflow and outflow, and I can go back in time and look at trending. The most recent year is the 2022, for us to look at. So I'm going to leave that where that is. But I can also look at primary jobs or all jobs. Primary jobs are the primary household jobs, where all jobs are, that would include even the teenagers that maybe have a part-time job in the household. So there would be a difference between the primary, the private, and all jobs. So I'm gonna leave it on all jobs for everybody living in Pueblo there, and hit go. And then what it'll give me is the information for Pueblo, and it tells me the age over here on the charts, and it gives me the statistics for those characteristics. So it tells me the age, and that 52.5% are between 30 and 34. With the counts, so my highest population is 30 to 54, pretty pretty normal. We usually see that in that age group. And we still have a pretty high number that, again, we're seeing across the nation for that older 55 and older population. And then when we go down, whoops, on this chart, I can see the earnings per month or less, what people are bringing in. And that, George, may be helpful for you when you're looking at total incomes,
Yeah.
that are coming in. And then here we can see those NAICS industries. What industries are people working in? And with those percentages. And then we can see the worker races right here. So here is where we can see, where do we have, and oh, whoops, and I'm sorry, the ethnicities. So people that identified as not Hispanic or Latino are 54.9, where the Hispanic or Latino are 45.1% of the workforce, with 18,884. And then we can see the education, the worker educational attainment as well. And then the sex, the gender. But you can look at this on here, and you can hide or share the report. You can save the report, you can load it, and you can also get the detailed report over here on the left. So you can get this detailed report and you can load it in an Excel.
Uh-huh.
Is easier to work with from a PDF or an HTML. So you can grab that data easier for those reports. And you can also change your settings. So if you want to change from the people that reside there to the workers, you can just go here to change and hit go, and that'll change your entire report. And then you can get your detailed report or do your reviews. But while you're on the view, you can also do some changes to clear your overlays if you don't want the point overlays to show up, or you don't want the thermal overlays. You can change the view that's coming up. If you want to remove the outline of Pueblo's Pueblo County, you can. Or I'm sorry, the city of Pueblo.
Yeah.
But you can also do some changes on the view up here at the base map. So you can make some changes if you want to do the metro area and include that. So you can change geographic levels and add things like your census tracts. If you
Yeah.
want your census tracts to appear on here, so you can narrow down what's going on in particular areas. You can add some of your key identifiers on the map as well. You know, your highways and airports and things. And you can also label your workforce investment areas. These are those areas identified a little differently than MSAs sometimes, your metro statistical areas.
Yeah.
And you can also identify educational layers and then some of the other layers that aren't really related to Pueblo or any areas with tribal lands or military bases. And then you've got your water and green spaces that you can include on those layers. But back here, you can also add on your selections. You can, oh, I'm sorry, that's not the one that I wanted. I wanted to, yes, it is. You can change what you're viewing. If you want to draw lines or edit shapes, so you can do quite a bit of manipulation to your map, your view of your map here to change the data. So if you want to get more than the city, if you want to grab these tracks, you can draw and edit anything on the map. So it does give you the ability to customize quite a bit of what you draw from here, and get different results from it. It has the opportunity to give you the view to look at the city versus the county. So if you do want to grab a larger area, you could change it to look at the county or the metro area, which
Yeah.
happen to be the same for Pueblo. So it gives you a lot of options to change the geography, which sometimes picks up things that you don't think about. People don't always think, they think, I work for the city and they only think about that, but you may be servicing people outside that area because of you're the primary source for people that are residing, out here in Pueblo West and such. So on the map is a great tool to grab a lot of current data about the workforce and where people are and what they're doing and how they're commuting. Some of the other things that you can do on the map when you change your analysis, let me get back to our start. Oops. I'm going to pick the county. Oh, let me close up this search here and close up geographies. and get my search open here. Okay, I can hide everything over here so I have a larger view of what I'm navigating here on the map as well. So I can make a lot of edits and changes to see really what do I want to explore on the map. Does anyone have questions about on the map or navigating in it?
GIS.
Yeah. Nope. No questions? Okay. I'm going to go back to the home page of LEHD, and we're going to look at QWI. Okay, QWI is the quarterly workforce investment area. And I personally really like this tool because you can slice and dice the data in so many ways. And it really gives you the ability to show trending, not only quarterly, but over years, over a trending of time. And so right here is the landing page. QWI starts out with the ability to search a geographic level. And it starts out on states. And because most recently I've searched in Colorado, it remembers that I've searched in Colorado and defaults to that. It also defaults on the first indicator, which is beginning of quarter employment counts, okay? But you can change it to hires, separations, turnovers, firm job gains, losses, changes, and earnings. So you can look at earnings in an area. Then you can also change the geography from Colorado to a lower level geography. And here it gives you the ability to search for counties. So I can check all the counties and compare them, or I can just go to a specific county or one or two counties. So if I want to just look at Pueblo County, I can click on Pueblo County and hit OK, and it reassesses the table I'm on to just to Pueblo. So it just gives me Pueblo. And what it does is it goes back to 2019 and it goes back to the first that quarter, but it also at the bottom of the chart gives me the first quarter of this year, and by age ranges it tells me the number of workers for the first quarter down here. So I can change that. If I don't want to look at all 20 quarters, I can change that selection right here to say, I just want to look at the last year. I can get rid of everything here just by clicking this first check mark. I can individually make checks. So I'm going to look at these. I'm going to look at all of 2023 and the first quarter of 2024. So that's my selection that I want to keep it at. I don't want to go back so far in time. So I just want to keep these 5 quarters. And here I'm looking at what that employment looks at by age. But on this axis, I can change from looking at age to race or ethnicity. So here I can not Hispanic or Hispanic on my grouping. So this is also really helpful. And I don't have to look at quarters. It's helpful to see that increase over the last few quarters of the Hispanic workers. But if I want, I can look at it on the yearly average. I could go back and add all the quarters to see that trending. But I can see right here over the year, from 1994, it's been an increase on all workers and the Hispanic workers. I can also look at the Hispanic workers by education. I could look at them. Whoops. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. By the worker characteristics, I can't select anything within the characteristics on the axis and anything over here. So let me put ethnicity in this one and change my grouping to look at the NAICS sectors, to see what industries the Hispanic population versus the non-Hispanic are working in. And
Yeah.
you can see here the industries they're working in. And I think that's also an interesting study to look at too, because you can see, where is the Hispanic population um, by those numbers.
Yeah.
And you can look at it in bar charts or line charts. We only have one geography, but you could map it if you had multiple geographies. So I think this is a really helpful tool to kind of look at current dynamics of an area and show trending that has gone on over time in an area. But it's nice to see what's really happening when you look down at that. Let me see, George, if we can go here and just get Hispanic. Nope, I'm not able to just get just Hispanic. Let me see if I change this to age, if I can get Hispanic on here for our axis.
No.
Yeah, I was hoping I could just put that as my characteristic, so everything was showing up as Hispanic or not Hispanic, but it's not gonna let me do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bummer. But you can look at a lot of the data by Hispanic or not Hispanic, if that helps you.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's a great tool to look at that trending and see what's happening. The other thing is in those NAICS codes, you can break this tool out. So if you want to look at just a specific one, you can remove others. You don't have to look at all. You can check none of them and then just select one of them, and that's what you'll get, just the one. You can also change it to 3-sector, the 3-digit sector, rather than just the construction. It gives more detail about the specific NAICS code. Let's see if we can get the 4-digit on those as well. And it does give indicators if there's flags. So if the data is suppressed, or if data isn't available for that quarter, I would try looking maybe at annual, if it's going to be suppressed for an area. So to get down to something so granular as oil seed and grain farming, as opposed to just agriculture, is going to be pretty specific for that. So you're not going to be able to get too low into some of those sectors.
Yeah.
But at least you can get your top variables by those by the ethnicity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have?
Yeah, that would be part of the report.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Say that again. I'm so sorry, George.
This would be part of a report that we would put together, citing this
Oh,
data.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is very
Yeah,
important.
you can grab this. Mhm. Yeah, it is really, I think it is really helpful to have this, and you can change your quarters up here too. So if you want to, you want to go back in time, or select multiple ones you can to get different data, you sure can. So
Yeah,
that will allow you different time, if that helps you. Go over here to this filter and get different time. But what it will show for you here on the chart is whatever you put in here. So if you select all of these quarters, you could select all of them or all of, however you want to do it, but it aggregates the data in this product. Okay.
Yeah.
So it'll pull it all together for everything. So that might help you to determine how you want to do it too for your reporting.
thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Does anyone have any other questions about this or concerns? Keely, do you have questions about anything on QWI or on the map or any of the longitudinal household employer products? Oh, I'm sorry, Kristen. I see your name, Keely, and I forgot you're not really Keely. You're Kristen.
Hi, it's okay.
I'm so sorry. Did you have questions or concerns or are there any other items in the longitudinal employer household that you'd like to look at or go over?
No, I think this looks pretty straightforward on my end.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Kimberly.
You're welcome. All right. And does anyone else have questions? Is Renee with you anymore, George, or she's gone? Okay.
Yeah, they had to leave.
Okay, not a problem. George, is there anything else that you need or anything else? Would you like to dig in next time? I think Noah talked about doing something uh uh late winter, early spring. Would you like to dig more into ACS
Yes, yes.
and navigating data.census.gov?
Yeah, by then too, I'll be getting into this to see if I can get some preliminary data for the research we're trying to do now. And then I'll know what we're
Okay.
lacking, and then I can share that with you and you can give us some guidance.
Okay, great. Yeah, and if you share it ahead of time, I'll prepare things next time focused on what you need.
Outstanding. I appreciate all your help and what you've done, and I look forward to seeing you again here soon, right after the holidays.
Yeah, absolutely. Have great holidays there, George. And I look forward to working with you guys as well.